That leads us right into Forsberg for the Denver Nuggets. They won the NBA title just last night. Forsberg, how does that tie into Forsberg's for today?
So here's what I'm thinking is what can the Celtics take from that? What nuggets can they pull from the Nuggets, bada bing, and try to take over into next season? Because every championship team should in some way inspire you. And we start with number one, which is just patience, which is the hardest thing in the world, right? Like, we all want the Celtics, after they've been knocking on the door for years and years to years, to get over that hump and be in the finals and win a finals. But as the Nuggets show, sometimes it's not that easy. And they were in the Western Conference Finals back in 2020, the bubble year. And then Jamal Murray gets hurt, and they've been sort of second-round exit, first-round exit. It would have been really easy for that team to say, you know what, this just isn't working, and as good as Jokic is, we got to blow it up. We got to make some big change and do something drastic. No, they stuck with it, and they were rewarded this season when they had the perfect mix all come together, and Jokic and Murray, an unstoppable 1-2 tandem, and now it delivered them to the title stage and ultimately a title. And that makes it all worth it. Look, they got some tough decisions to make moving forward, but it shows. If you just see it through and let guys figure it out, you can be rewarded in the end.
I'm not sure that Celtics fans, that they're capable of being patient.
No.
Maybe the city of Boston, I don't know if they're capable of being patient.
It's hard enough for us.
It is, especially when you come so close last season going to the NBA Finals. All right, what's coming up next?
All right, number two is the superstar impact. All right, so Jason Tatum is amazing. We're going to get into some MVP odds with Giles in a minute. But what I loved about the Nuggets, Jokic every night, even if he wasn't scoring, found a way to impact that game. His passing, it was just everything he did made that team better. They didn't have to rely on the three-point shot. They weren't one-dimensional on offense at times. It's obviously not every team has a two-time MVP, or maybe should have been a three-time MVP, but it can find ways to lean on your superstars and for your superstars to be great in the biggest moments. If I have one minor complaint about Jason Tatum, it's the consistency angle and finding a way to bring it every night. And what's the other thing? Like, Jokic, winning a title didn't even fluster me. He was just like, yeah, I can't wait to go back and ride some horses.
Gotta go home. He asked, when's the parade? And then he said,
he was so despondent about it. And that's what I love. Jason Tatum, stop worrying about fouls, stop worrying about, shoes, all that stuff. I know that that's all part of the deal here. But once you win a championship, everything else is the only thing that matters, and you make everyone else better. And I think Tatum is knocking on the door of being that player.
Maybe Jason Tatum will take some notes from the Joker and say, hey, maybe I'll just focus on the title. Maybe the other things will just come a little bit.
Just don't worry about fouls and all that stuff. It gets so much easier from there.
All right, what's coming up next?
All right, number three, the right supporting cast. So, look, the Nuggets are a little weird. They do have what is essentially three max players on their roster with Murray, Jokic, and Michael Porter Jr., who got that big extension. So they've got some, as I said, they've got some really tough decisions to make. But part of what made them so good was that they had their core. Like going out and getting Aaron Gordon at the trade deadline a few years ago, someone who I would have really liked to have seen. And I think that was the same year the Celtics traded for Evan Fournier. And I think we all know how that worked out. Got COVID 17 times and barely ever played for this team. So it's all about finding the right pieces. Even then, going out, Bruce Brown on the mid-level, Ish Smith, Jeff Green on low money. Yes, you had your superstars at the top, but they found the right mix of guys to fit around it. I think that's part of Brad Stevens' challenge now, especially as we're going to get into with the CBA. You have to stay. You got to be diligent with the dollars you spend, and to look up and see that supporting cast do what it did. And, even old friend Jeff Green finally getting one, which felt good from a Boston perspective.
Yeah.
It shows the importance of putting together the right roster.
Also, Bruce Brown getting a lot of shine for the Denver Nuggets as well, and a Boston-bred guy as well. All right, last but not least, what you got?
Four is sort of patience part two, but it's also leaning on your core and drafting and developing. So Brad Stevens, and the way he's put this team together since taking over 2 years ago, has been trading draft picks to supplement the core that Danny Ainge drafted. The new CBA is going to change the way he's able to do that. And so I think you have to put a bigger priority, the number 35 pick this year. Can you go find yourself a Christian Brown? Can you go find yourself guys that are going to develop into it? Even Bones Highland was drafted there, and they had to move on from him this season. But it shows the value. If you hit on your draft picks and you can parlay them and continue to help build and supplement that core, you put yourself in a good spot. Denver was one of the best at sort of drafting, developing, and being patient with those guys. So I hope that the Celtics can do the same thing, because they've got the right mix. They just got to kind of find those younger players that can keep this thing going.
Being patient is the key word, but Forsberg, I think you are asking for a lot when you talk about patience with the Celtics team.